Hello, welcome everybody to a Masterminds Roundtable, very special edition with the Dungeon Masters of Eaglesclaw American School of Magic. I'm Krysten, the founder of Mastermind Adventures, and I'm super excited to introduce our Dungeon Masters for this year's event. And I don't really have a ton to say, except for that you guys are going to love them, and I can't wait to hear about all of their plans for this year's show. Here they are. Yay!
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you guys. I'm really excited for Eaglesclaw this year. I know that we have a really, really fun event coming up with this. This is our first time doing Eaglesclaw virtually. We've done now 2 different live streams with one with the kids who grew up coming to Eaglesclaw, and then we did one last week with the professors who are going to be doing classes at Eaglesclaw. But you guys are a really important part of this online adventure that we're doing. And of course, you're near and dear to my heart as the folks who work with us at Mastermind. So let's just take a minute and just have you guys go around and just introduce yourself and talk about what house that you're sorted into. So let's see. First to go, John.
Hi, I'm John, Pro GM here at Mastermind Adventures. I run a lot of D&D 5e games. Happy to be here and excited to run Eaglesclaw content.
Awesome. Arthur, you are next.
Hi, I'm Arthur. I am a proud Grizzleheart, and I run games in a bunch of tabletop role-playing games, but I'm excited to run a 5th edition adventure of Dungeons & Dragons for y'all for Eaglesclaw.
All right, Mahria.
Oh, hey, it's me.
You are.
Hi. I am Mahria. I am also a Grizzleheart. And wait, Grizzleheart. There we go. And I am going to be running a 5th edition adventure. I mostly run in 5th edition D&D, and I'm very excited for the adventure I have planned for Eaglesclaw.
All right, Allie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allie Sulentic. I am the Master of Lore from Mastermind Adventures. I am not running one of these, the games that these lovely GMs are running, but I did write the overall adventure. So I'm really excited to introduce people to Eaglesclaw or to welcome them back. It's been too long since we did Eaglesclaw.
I agree. All right, Greg, you're next.
Good morning. My name is, wait, let me make sure I'm on. Yep, good. Good morning. My name is Greg, and I'm representing the West Coast here for Mastermind Adventures based in Los Angeles. I am a professional dungeon master here for Mastermind, and my normal campaign is Secrets of the Barrow Maze. You can check it out at secretsofthebarrowmaze.com. But I am super excited to be running a very special spring break adventure for the students at Eaglesclaw, and I'm also a very, very proud Grizzleheart. Got to rep the green and silver, baby. Let's go.
All right, Sarah, last but not least.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and I'm here representing the Murdoch House, best house of all. And I'm I run a lot of games for kids and teens, and I'm really excited to start exploring this new world together as we explore this new magical school that will bring a lot of joy to everybody, I think.
Awesome. All right, so there they all are. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. And all right, so we've talked a lot about in past streams. We kind of talked a lot about what Eaglesclaw is and sort of what it's about. I'm going to just do a quick snippet. So Eaglesclaw American School of Magic started in 2015 as a sort of a live action role play version of a magic school. And it's gone through many different phases over the years. And when the pandemic came, we could not run an in-person event. So for the past 2 years, we really haven't been able to kind of get back to our stories and things like that. So last year, we'd actually envisioned an Eaglesclaw that could be virtual, but we just didn't have the bandwidth to do it. And so we are bringing it to you this year virtually. The kids will be able to get sorted into houses like our awesome dungeon masters have, and they will go. They will have both a sort of an over long arcing adventure that they'll work together to solve. They're going to have an opportunity to take classes, and then also do a Dungeons and Dragons exploration kind of adventure that kind of gets them to explore different parts of the castle, or even outside of the castle grounds. There might be some things for them to find and learn. And then we're also doing a week-long spring break adventure, as Greg mentioned. That'll be half-day D&D sessions Monday through Friday, the week of spring break for the East Coast. And we're also starting some just Dungeons and Dragons weekly meetup tables in this universe. So if your kid can't make the event on the 16th or doesn't have spring break at the same time, they can certainly join us at any time, just starting a new adventure with their character. So let's see. I have some questions to kind of get our conversation started. You've all had years of experience facilitating games both for adults and for kids. So how do you think that designing games for kids and teens is a little bit different than when you're thinking about doing it for adults?
Ooh.
Well, in my experience, younger people have an appreciation for like the little things in the world, like the little details that make the world seem alive. When they see one of these things, they want to check it out. They want to touch it and be a part of it. They're not afraid of getting into the weeds in any setting. Like with adults, they tend to get stuck into the rules of the game instead of like the details of the world that really make things seem more real in a fantastic way.
I totally agree. I think I say this a lot, but I think the great thing about running games for kids is they don't know what the wrong thing to do is. I think a lot of times when we play games enough, we kind of get into the rote idea of like what an adventure is supposed to look like, or what as a player I am supposed to do. But kids do not have any of that background or baggage coming into a game, and they're just going to follow what they're excited about, which as a dungeon master is my favorite thing, because if you are very clear about what you're excited about, I can put that more in my game and I can focus on that to give you the experience you want to have.
One of the things I love about running games with kids is that because they're kids, they're still using their imaginations as sort of like a learning muscle. Like when we're kids, we play so naturally. Anything can be a toy, anything can be a game. You see so many kids just running around with sticks, and that's their adventure. And so I feel like you get to really tap into that imaginative potential when they're playing together. And I love giving them a little bit more framework so that we can tell a story that's not just, and then I do this. No, you don't. I do that. It's like there's enough rules to sort of allow them to come up with their own stories that make sense and that have a little bit more structure so that we can really collaboratively tell a really fun story together.
I love that.
I really appreciate how kids problem solve in a D&D game. Oftentimes, especially when I'm running games for adults, they already know a lot of the rules. They already know a lot of the monsters. And what's nice is that kids will do something completely different. Instead of attacking the goblins, they'll say, I'm going to try to talk them into sharing their lunch. And I'm like, okay, go for it. I like how they do something completely different, and it makes me have to really keep on my toes a little bit more than when I am playing with adults, which is nice.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that because, normally when I'm running Barrow Maze sessions or even any of my other game sessions, I deal with tables of adults who are like, all right, let's just roll for initiative. Let's go. And they just want to explode dice everywhere and, be dropping fireballs and stuff. And Mahria, I covered one of your tables recently. Earlier this week, and I had a group full of kids, and they first off, they problem solved and burned through an adventure a stock adventure that I had that takes most adults 2 to 2.5 hours to get through it. They did it in 45 minutes, and I had to spend the next 2 hours of the session improvising to come up with stuff just to keep up and keep everybody engaged. And one of the things that I did was like, okay, I'm just going to throw an ogre at him. So I was like, okay, fee, fi, fo, fum. An ogre comes out and he's like, I'm going to turn your bones into flour for my bread. And they're like, and I was like, all right, guys, roll for initiative. And they're like, and they won the initiative. And I was like, all right, what are you gonna cast? What are you gonna do? And they're like, we're gonna talk to him. I'm like, you're gonna what? And then they start rolling persuasion, and then they start rolling deception, and then they start rolling, and I was like, he's gonna go home and rethink his life choices now. Okay, yeah, that was. And I was like, wow, you overcame this encounter in 30 seconds. Now I have to think of something else we could do.
Yep.
They were genius though. Like I was like, I can't be mad at this. They're excellent. So I've had this experience with other kids' tables too. They still have that sense of wonder, and they love to think outside of the box. Yeah, I have another little litmus test story of kids versus adults, but I don't want to hog the mic right now, so I'll save it maybe for another appropriate time as we keep going.
Yeah, well, I mean, that we've got lots of time to talk and kind of explore, stories and things like that. Do you guys have like a secret weapon when it comes to keeping kids engaged at the table? As Greg says, like sometimes they can burn through the content a little bit quickly, or do something just completely to throw things off the rails. So how do you manage that as a dungeon master?
I say okay. Good example.
A lot of yes ands.
A lot of yes ands. I was running an adventure for that same group of kids. I'm like, all right, they have to go into the sewer, and there's going to be like an incubus and a succubus, and they're summoning a horrible demon and stuff like that. And these kids just dragged over a picture of like a giant who was going to be helping them and stuff. And they're like, we're going to be looking for cows. And I went, okay. And I put a whole bunch of cows on there. They're like, I'm going to name my cow this. I'm going to name my cow that. And then I just started typing in the names just slightly wrong. And they were like, wait, no, it's like this. Oh, sorry. And I kept just doing it over and over again. And it was hilarious because they were like, wait, no, I want my cow to be named Batman. I'm like, okay, well, your cow is named the hero that Gotham deserves. Stuff like that. They're like, okay. And it's just saying okay and rolling with it, because honestly, you're going to get a bigger, better reaction and more engagement that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you want an actual like secret thing to do, give them all horses and say, what does your horse look like? And then you've got the next half hour just planned out. They're going to tell you what their horse looks like, or anything. Just give them like, oh, you all have a thing. What does it look like? And they will tell you, and it's going to be great. And you can also learn a lot about them as people that way. But also like a more overarching thing that I learned from my time working at summer camps is a phrase I learned is be the most interesting thing in the room. If like I have taught like workshops in a park where there is like an officer walking on a horse by like on a road quick by, and there's an eagle going past, and I'm like, man, I have to be more interesting than a horse and an eagle just coming by, and you've just got to be like engaging and like keep them in the game and ask them questions. Kids love to ask questions.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. I think everybody likes to be asked questions. Any other secret?
Krysten, do you feel that's true?
I do. Think that's true.
It's not necessarily a secret weapon. It's just, it's time to pay attention. When a kid's attention starts flagging, something about the adventure isn't connecting with them. It's time to either throw something weird at them or shift the spotlight in such a way that it casts the right shadow. You know, like you've got to take your adventure that maybe isn't working as well as you'd like, and then throw something strange at it and wait and see how they react to these things. Do they react well to unpredictability, or are they looking for a place to jump in, or do they just want to observe? If they just want to observe, get something interesting for them to interact with just by observing. You know, it's really about reading the room. It's tough online. It's tougher online, but it works. Like as long as you're being attentive and you keep it, you keep your eye on them, you can make almost anything work with kids.
I think using humor as a tool as well. You know, I think sometimes kids they like to laugh and they like to have fun. They're playing a game to have fun. And so if they're bored, like if you can tell that they're getting bored fighting this monster, it's like, oh, the monster's dead, and it explodes, and now you're covered in slime, and the slime smells like lime jello. Do you eat it? And then like they have to be like, no, I never eat it. And then it's like there's always one who's like, I eat it. And it's like all of a sudden you start to feel your body turning into jello. Like you start to notice that your bones are disappearing. It looks like you've now got the jello sickness. Like, you know, just like nonsense it's not in the rule book. Like changing it up so that it's funny and that it's like absurdist, like Monty Python type. I feel like Monty Python's Holy Grail is my like fantasy framework when I'm running a game with kids. Like it's got some rules. It makes there's a structure to it, but also anything can happen, and it's and I think, you know, sometimes and then you get to like lean into like the nonsense, like, oh no, you've got the terrible jello sickness. Everybody, we have to find a cure to the jello sickness. Maybe there's something in the corpse. Maybe we can loot the corpse. And like they're trying, and they come up with solutions that would be like, I could never come up with. And I love that's what I love about playing with kids, is that it's a fun game. There's almost never somebody who's out there to just win. They're there to have fun.
Wait, did we find the cure? What happened next?
I know, Arthur's like into this story now. You got him picked.
I gotta know, Sarah.
That's because you're the one with the jello sickness, Arthur. And out of all of this group, it would be 100% Arthur who would eat the lime-flavored slime jello. Like,
lime-flavored is my favorite jello. I don't care if it came from an exploding ogre.
Yeah.
Those are my best friends.
That checks out for sure. So let's talk a little bit about this Strixhaven, the D&D, the Dungeons and Dragons Strixhaven universe. There are a few things that are a little bit different. You know, every time a new source book comes out, they always add some kind of new special things. So, you know, talk a little bit about what is this setting like? How is it different? You know, what can they look forward to that's different about the setting?
Well, as opposed to Strixhaven, like Eaglesclaw is a lot more intimate than like the regular Strixhaven setting. Strixhaven has like a more collegiate feel to it. It's a huge campus where everybody can just fade into obscurity. Eaglesclaw isn't like that. It's a school like run out of a like a New England manor turned big magic school, and everyone lives with each other, and it's got everyone is able to interact with each other in meaningful ways. You're not just going to go back to your dorm and just sit there, you know, studying your material. Everyone's right there, and there's always a chance for interpersonal interaction and drama and events to happen where everybody gets to see. Right.
But mechanically, there are some new things, right, about the Strixhaven. I'm correct about that, right? There's a few new things about the way that this is kind of formatted. There's some new things from Dungeons and Dragons to sort of like kind of how they've organized things. There's new races that you can play, right?
Mm-hmm. So there's like the Owlin race, which is like a type of owl based Aarakocra, like a bird type people. But there's also one thing I really thought was interesting about the Strixhaven setting is that fact that it takes place over the course of years, which is neat. So, like when you're a first year, like you're not sorted into like a house or anything quite yet, but there are also all types of interesting things you could do. You could work on campus. There's a coffee shop adventure in Strixhaven, which is great. It's hilarious. I've played through it before, and I know it's specifically something that is supposed to fit into like the Magic the Gathering type situation with Strixhaven specifically, but I really appreciate some of the stuff that they do in regards, like there's an orientation day, there's a coffee shop adventure, there's a masquerade ball, there's all types of things where, you know, when you think about like, oh, a magical school, like whether you've been to a LARP or otherwise, all of those things are a part of that whole experience. And I really appreciate that they include those experiences within the book and we can incorporate them into these adventures that we're going to be running.
Right. Yeah.
One thing I really
One of the things I love about Strixhaven is the different colleges. So like we've been doing something different with Eaglesclaw and that we've got our different houses, but I really love specifically like the necromancy in the story, where it's a college Witherbloom in Strixhaven, but where you're learning about death, but you're also learning about like plant growth and life, and bringing things back, but in a way that makes it beautiful. I don't know. I always just really like that side of it. I just love necromancy.
Yeah. One thing I really like is there are like relationship options, and that you can play that as romance, but you can also play that as friendship. But in D&D, like I think a lot of us are moving towards more role play focused games, and like 5th edition has been more role play focused and more like streamlined than previous systems. But there's not really a system for building a relationship over time. Like your DM can decide that, but there's not any benefit to that. There's not anything different, but the relationship options like reward you with spending time with specific NPCs that you like, which I think is a thing we already do, and creates both mechanics and like deeper role play through that. And I think it's really cool that we're like there aren't a lot of systems out there that have that focus that much on role play, in the sense that like besides just like, oh, I roll a die plus my charisma, cool, they like me now. And you can kind of build it over time. And like if someone really doesn't like you, just because you roll really well, it doesn't mean they'll necessarily do what you want. But also if someone really likes you, even if you like say the wrong thing, they'll still like you and understand and maybe do what you want. And you can fluctuate and change over time, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Also, there's LARPing as an extracurricular activity.
I saw that.
And wizard LARPing is something that like this actually frustrates me a little bit, because in the book it's not very spelled out what that looks like. But like, what do wizards LARP like is a question that is on my mind every day I wake up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they take dice and they sit around a table.
Right. Yeah.
One of the things actually that I love about Strixhaven is that it's not only inclusive to like all like species and cultures, but it's also inclusive to all classes. So you can be like a fighter attending the school, even if you don't take like the Eldritch Knight path and go that, you can still attend Strixhaven and get something out of it. And that's something that I know I've struggled with my own magical school setting of trying to figure out how you can give that choice to the players without having to limit what they can do in the school. And I think they did it in a really brilliant way to kind of just have each class have a place in the school within any of the 5 school like colleges that they have. I think it's good because it means that the players don't have to limit what they're doing. You don't have to say, well, you can't really play an artificer that does this thing. You can't really play a ranger. You can do all of those things. And it really helps to make the school feel well-rounded.
Yep. I agree. Sorry, I was adding Sarah back to the stream because she dropped for a minute.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, no big deal. So yeah, I noticed that. I think I liked the mechanic about like having friendships and even rivals. I think you can have like factions or something like that, which I thought was really interesting and sort of different. And then, yeah, John, as it applies to Eaglesclaw, what are some of the things specifically about this story that we're taking in? Or actually, I think maybe have Allie, you can, because you're the one who's kind of laid Strixhaven rules on top of our existing lore for Eaglesclaw. So maybe talk a little bit about how you've done that and how we've adapted it for this type of play.
Sure. So one of the things when I was going through the Strixhaven book and pulling mechanics out to kind of make more custom things was I wanted to make sure that any of the changes that we made were very easy for the kids to learn. D&D, 5th edition is probably the most accessible version of D&D, but it's still a little bit of a learning curve when you get into it. And my kind of principles to that were to say that, a lot of these mechanics that we're adding in have to be easy to understand. And Strixhaven itself does a great job with kind of demystifying the school setting. They have rules for pretty much everything, classes, extracurriculars, those big kind of flagship events that every magic school has. So the stuff that we had to add in as things were basically just reskins of a lot of the existing Strixhaven rules. We have a couple of new backgrounds that focus on students from a particular house. So the 4 houses of Eaglesclaw are Grizzleheart, Lamassador, Murdoch, and Snowbeak. And each one of those has a specific background that you can take that will give you specialized equipment and also a special ability that ties to the kind of overarching idea of each of these houses. The other thing we did is that we have a specialized feat that is based on the house that you're a part of, and it gives you access to new spells and things like that, even if you're, again, a class that doesn't necessarily have a lot of spells to work with. So, a fighter could still cast some of these spells a couple times a day. It kind of keeps everything very magic school based, but also, again, very customizable for each individual student. So those were kind of the big changes that we made. Everything else is kind of parts of the story. The overarching arc of the story of this event focuses a lot on the school and learning about at least one of the founders. And everything else is kind of just your standard D&D.
Awesome. So as we're talking more specifically about Eaglesclaw, what's something as dungeon masters that kind of intrigues you or inspires you about this storyline and this kind of new school of magic that we've created?
I really like how inclusive Eaglesclaw is. I think it's really cool that this is something I always had a problem with other magical schools is the fact that like centaurs or like goblins, other different D&D is full of a lot of interesting and varied races. But in most magical schools, it's you got humans, maybe elves or dwarves or gnomes, maybe. But in Eaglesclaw, you can come in and be whatever you want. You come as you are, and we will accept you. So you're going to walk down the hall, and you're going to see mermaids and tritons in the pool, and you're going to see Aarakocra and owlfolk just flying in, and they're just going to be a wide diverse of people and classes, as Allie pointed out. I think that's really fun and makes the school more dynamic and fun.
Yeah, in this world, magic isn't exactly commonplace, but more people have it than than people realize. And having people live right next to each other, fantasy races, mermaids are next to minotaurs, are next to fairies, and having the school have special things to accommodate all these folks and have them live together is a really interesting thing that it's fun to think about, and it's even more fun to just live for a while. And I'm looking forward to how the kids deal with their special house feats and spells, even when they're a combat class. It's good. We're going to see things. We're going to see them create characters that weren't possible before, or at least were very unusual. And we're going to have them solving problems with a lot of the mechanics they've got in Eaglesclaw, where they don't have it in other versions of D&D. It's going to be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, thinking about the accessibility of how a centaur and a fairy can go about taking the same classes and moving down the same hallway is very interesting to me. So that is a conversation that I could have any day of the week, and I love creating magical ways that these very different folks can inhabit the same space.
I kind of love the fact that this school is based in New England. I mean, especially with New England's history and rich, deep American history in particular, and the ties to things like the witch trials and the Revolution and all these other things. I mean, I have a lot of personal family history based in New England. So I might wind up having like some of my my own family history thrown into the spring break storyline that I've got planned, as well as a lot of my other standard influences. I think I threw around the phrase Kobayashi Maru at one point, but that's that's just my cruel sense of humor for what I like to do with players. So.
So I like the idea of exploring like a New England estate as opposed to like a castle or a huge modern-ish campus. Also, having the locals close at hand can offer a lot of opportunities to role play, the clueless mundane person, like to walk in at just the wrong time, be like, "What are you doing?" and have the kids deal with that.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about Eaglesclaw is that it's set in the middle of a city. So not only do you have the campus to explore, but you also have places like the local harbor or the graveyard or just a bunch of other things. And being set in New Bedford, which is one of at least Southern Massachusetts' most historical looking and really interesting historically place is, I think, just it's a lot of fun to kind of try to fit local history into that, or to say that, oh, we can go to one of the many museums or many historical houses and have a fun adventure where you're chasing ghosts or you're trying to figure out who sabotaged the whaling museum. That kind of stuff I think is really fun as part of the story and just as part of the setting that we've created.
I'm imagining like a cat and mouse game with Eaglesclaw students, as opposed to these kooky conspiracy theorists that live among the mundane people. They're constantly trying to expose the magic people among us, and having to deal with that all the time and dodge these folks.
I live in New Bedford, so like there's actually like a witch store and everything. So I could just imagine that the students are going in that store specifically for supplies for class and dealing with the townies who are like, but why is it so much for that crystal? Like, what exactly is that crystal going to do for me? And like the magical folks know what it can do, the mundane and like the normies don't. I love that idea because I live here, so I get to see all the cool stuff that is around here that the kids that Eaglesclaw students would interact with.
I think it is canonical that Phineas and Ferb do go to Eaglesclaw, and they are wizards.
Oh, 100%. That's why the summer lasts so long.
There's somebody out there with a cork board and all the red yarn and thumbtack pictures
it's
everywhere.
Day.
There is someone. Her name is Candace.
Yeah. There's actually, so the idea that it's in like the middle of the city is also kind of different from a lot of the other magical schools that you see in fiction. Usually they're in like a very isolated place. It's like a castle on top of a hill. It's hidden somewhere like in plain sight, but very far from everything else. And the fact that it's kind of in the middle of a city and you have to deal with that kind of stuff, I think is also great because I think a lot more people can empathize with that kind of thing. A lot of people live in cities. Not many people have the ability nor the funds to go to a private boarding school in the middle of nowhere, but everyone has been to a school or a church or even just a gathering of like-minded people in the middle of a city, and I think that's great.
Right. Yeah, I love that about it's something I've always kind of loved is that we're when we were live and in person too, that was something that I think was really fun for the kids to imagine, because they felt like they were kind of this like this like secret but like in plain sight, which gives it kind of a fun.
I remember driving by the Trinity Church where it would be like, oh, that's cool.
Yes, all these little guys running around with
with wands and stuff. I was like, oh, that was awesome.
Yes, definitely. So I have a fun question. If you were a student at Eaglesclaw, what kind of character would you want to be, and where would they spend most of their time? So thinker, huh?
I would be. I would be human. I know that's the most vanilla choice you could possibly be, but I'd like to do like sorcery, like illusion based, and I'd spend all my time out on the town doing weird stuff with visuals and sounds and seeing what I could get away with, just because I can.
I love it.
See, I am a musician. I'm a singer. I teach music and stuff. So I definitely think I would probably be in the bard realm. But I also like the idea of being like an echo knight because you could just bamf all over the place, which could be helpful and handy as a performer. I have to go with my favorite half orc. I love the half orcs. I even have tusks that I made for Ren Fair. So he's some sort of
Sounds epic.
I would definitely be my new favorite race that isn't even official yet. It's just the Unearthed Arcana, which is a plasmoid, which is basically a like slime that has gained sentience and kind of turned generally human shape, but they can also just turn into a little slime puddle, which I love so much. They can grow limbs. It's great. I'd probably be a rogue because rogues are fun. I like magic rogues, like arcane trickster rogues. And I would definitely I like the idea of like having my nose in a book, walking around school and seeing all of, like the adventure hero types going around and having their like crazy adventures and kind of just like scrolling, like figuring out that like someone like runs past me in the hall and is like, oh wait a minute, I think like people have been petrified recently, and like they're holding like a vial of green liquid. I bet they're trying to like cure them or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not a part of any of the adventures. I don't have to. I'm not a part of the drama. I just watch it all happen, like my little own TV show. Like that would be fun for me.
I love that.
Gotta stop making them fight.
Boy.
I like the drama.
I think I would go with my standby of being a dwarf of some variety. I was going to say arcane trickster, but I don't want to double up here, so I would probably actually go some variety of monk. Although lately I've been feeling my theater roots. I actually spent all day yesterday doing an lighting install for an outdoor venue for a production of the Go-Go's musical Head Over Heels. So maybe more bard and do like flash and trash effects bard with like all kinds of not offensive spells, but do all like the utility spells and do all kinds of creative uses for the utility spells where it's like dancing lights and prestidigitation and booming voice and all these other the big showy things. That could be, yeah, you can't really get more opposite than that. You do the aesthetic monk or you do the splash and trash bard. Yeah. Like I can't.
I've not heard the term splash and trash before. This is new for me.
Yeah. Oh, flash and trash is what lighting designers call concert lighting. Is where you're just like sploosh, sploosh, just all over the place. Yeah.
Boots and pants and boots and pants.
Include the sound effects.
Yep.
Isn't that the Murdoch promise? Splash and trash.
Oh boy, we don't need to be picking fights with our fellow houses right now. And besides, the Murdoch dropped out, so we don't.
I know.
They're not here to defend themselves. Let's not.
But Greg, we can double up. We can just be arcane tricksters going around.
I'd totally be down for that. Absolutely. Yep. So,
Allie, do you want to answer this? Do you have an idea of what you would?
Yeah.
say?
Well, so I've been thinking about it while everyone's talking. I'm being a little basic here, but I do love elves, but I'd probably go with like a half elf. I love that, like kind of, same thing with half orcs. They're kind of in between two very different kinds of people. And I love that like kind of interplay with that. And I think I would probably go with some sort of artificer, I think. I'm not sure if it would be like the alchemist side or like the artillerist side, but I love like the little gadgets and like building little tiny things to do stuff and enchanting items. Like that's one of my favorite things to do in just regular D&D. So the idea that you can kind of take all of that stuff and, like make little magic. I'd probably be running like a little black market shop with like enchanted things to help you like do well in your tests. That's probably what I would be doing.
Ooh, getting into the black market.
You're the one selling Adderall.
I'm a snowbeak. I'm ambitious. I'm sorry.
I love that. I did wanted to mention that I forgot to remind myself earlier, but we will have a Q&A next Tuesday, I think, but watch for the announcement for that. But I think we're also going to run sort of a general Q&A session about character creation. We get a little bit closer to the actual event. So, if what we're talking about is a little bit mystifying for you, don't worry. We're going to help make sure that your kids get to build a character that they're going to be very, very excited about. So,
yeah, as a great woman once said, people love answering questions.
They do. They certainly do. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about the adventures that you guys have planned for Eaglesclaw. So maybe to make it orderly, let's talk first about who's running an adventure during the April 16th event.
That's me.
Okay, why don't we start with you guys? So Arthur, you're closest in my Brady Bunch lineup here, so you can go first. Talk about your kind of just a cliff notes about your adventure, and why should someone join your table, Arthur?
Absolutely. Well, if you can't tell by my background, my adventure has a little bit to do with the library. The librarian has some folks who have some overdue books, but locator spells find them in the way back sections of the library. So they are going to task you in getting them back. But like you would assume, this library is a little more chaotic and dangerous than your traditional library. Maybe not mine, actually. My local library is extremely chaotic and dangerous, but you'll have to face a lot of interesting challenges and maybe even fight a few things to get to these your fellow lost students and make sure they return their books on time and possibly pay some fees if it's been that long.
Love it. All right, Mahria.
So my players will find themselves in a Saturday morning detention with a burly, impatient, grumpy Minotaur, and they're supposed to just do their time, keep their heads down, lest they get the horns, and basically. Exactly. Definitely at the Breakfast Club. And there'll be moments where they'll be left alone and weird things are going to be happening in the classroom and they're going to have to deal with it without getting into further trouble from their detention monitor. And they'll discover some information that'll be important for the overall game later, but they're going to have to try to balance being sneaky while also taking care of some things that can be dangerous or, inconvenient. So it's a little balance of having fun with their friends, solving stuff while also not trying to get into trouble.
Awesome.
Or further trouble.
I love the Breakfast Club angle. Go ahead, John. You're also doing an Eaglesclaw day of, right? The event.
That's right. The single day event.
Single day event.
Yeah, I'll be taking students on a little trip through the crawl spaces of Eaglesclaw, like the behind the walls sort of spaces. There's an infestation of book mice that have been stealing pages from people's books and notes, and we've got to go in and capture the little guys. The only problem is that book mice tend to live the material they've read, whether it be War and Peace or somebody's takeout receipts. If they're extremely well read, we may be in for a super weird day.
That's very funny. All right. And I know Sarah had technical issues, so she had to drop out. But I know, Greg, you are going to be running one of the half-day camps coming up for. Yeah. So I actually read a little bit about your adventure, but I can't wait for you to tell people what you're thinking.
Well, since we're doing a week-long half-day adventure camp, I was thinking it would be a class field trip before finals, and the party of students they're on the field trip, and they discover a magical artifact that is kind of resonant to them. It kind of calls to them, and they wind up going off and doing something with the artifact and wind up embroiled in a bunch of time traveling trouble where each day of the camp they wind up in a different time period, and they find themselves having to write parts of history that have been wronged in order to make it back to class before the professor, or make it back to the field trip before the professors notice that they're gone.
I love it.
Yeah.
So fun. Yeah. And I know, Mahria, you're going to be starting a weekly table after that. Do you have a different story in mind for that, or you just kind of see where things go? Or
I'm gonna see how things go, because I know with like I'm doing my Mondays, and like I can fit in probably on like either a Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. So probably for the weekly thing, I might pull a little bit more from like the Strixhaven stuff. So we'll see.
Right. Cool. So final question is, why should a kid come to the Eaglesclaw event? And we'll give you a minute. Allie, did you want to talk about, I didn't even think about it. Did you want to talk about, I know you did on another stream, but did you want to talk about kind of the overarching story while they think about that question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. Start the Jeopardy music. So
let's see what I
have. Our plan in terms of the event is that we're going to do multiples of these throughout the year. When I was developing the story for this event and then the rest of the events, I wanted to make sure that they all kind of had a theme that went together. So the theme is the wards that the founders put on Eaglesclaw to make sure that those non-magic individuals that wander through the city or maybe come across the old church where Eaglesclaw is there is music where Eaglesclaw is held. Those wards are fading, and normal people are wandering in and wondering why all of these kids are holding wooden sticks and things are flying off the shelves, or like, what is that? Is that a minotaur? What is happening here? So to avoid that, to have to use a bunch of like memory spells to make sure that they can stay safe, the headmaster of Eaglesclaw is asking for the students' help to try to track down where these wards are. The first ward that they're tackling is the ward of Gretchen Grizzleheart, the founder of Grizzleheart. Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of Grizzlehearts here.
We do.
So Gretchen Grizzleheart was the one who basically founded the orphanage that the school grew into. She's very important to a lot of like the everyday culture of Eaglesclaw. And she is a specialist in things like plant and earth magic. So there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. And hopefully the students will learn a lot about Gretchen and a lot of her work, and help everyone find the magic wards before everything kind of collapses and everyone in town suddenly figures out that they've got a school for magic in the middle of a big city.
Love it. Sorry. There, yay. All right. So your final question, lightning round. Why should a kid come to Eaglesclaw? So I'm just going to go around. It looks like Arthur's ready. Go.
Yeah, I'm ready. I won't try to convince you to come to my game, because if I seem like fun and you want to come to my game, you'll have a lot of fun. But honestly, you're going to have fun no matter which of the GMs you choose to come with. But I think if you've been hesitant about trying a D&D game, if it's felt like a lot, especially like as a kid, there can be a lot of complex rules. This whole system, we have changed it around to make it easier and more accessible for kids to come in. We've got a expansive world that is going to be new to a lot of people, so you don't have to be worried if you don't know things. But it also is going to be formed around what you're interested in, what you want to do. Like, you are going to be a part of a world with a bunch of other people. Just because you're in my game doesn't mean that like John's game isn't happening like next door, and you can talk to your friends or other people that you meet and make friends and be like, wow, while I was searching the library, you were like killing these spiders that actually could have attacked me. And like all of these things are happening together, and you're going to be a part of this larger world that will not only affect like someone else's game, but your game in the future, like months down the line.
Awesome. All right, Mahria.
This is going to be an event where even if you're not sure of how the rules work, there's going to be people there to support you and to help you through and to like even figure out ways to get you into the game pretty quickly. Each of the games sounds super fun. I'm super excited to see who would like to play mine. I would be interested in playing any of those games, but it's also going to be a great spot where you can make friends, even start maybe even doing your own games together if you like the system and everything. And it's been a while since these types of events have been able to happen, so it's really nice to be able to kind of get back into it in a very safe way. So I think this will be a great opportunity for kids to not only potentially learn a new type of game, a new type of socializing, but a way to make some more friends and stuff.
Awesome. All right, John.
Hey, it's a magic school with its own extra dimensional spaces for everything. You'll be in a class with all sorts of crazy creatures. What is not to love about this? And like everybody mentioned, this is a great way to get into Dungeons and Dragons. You're going to have somebody there that knows what they're doing to guide you through things. You won't have to go through the sometimes excruciating process of really like going into depth about how you're creating a character and stuff. It's a short adventure to get you into things, and you also get to buy into this expansive universe that you all share with your friends when you go through it with each other. And it's something that's going to continue on where we're doing events like these. It's going to be something you can come back to and be like, yeah, I affected the world when I was there at Eaglesclaw, and it's going to persist. Like these things are canon what I'm doing.
Awesome. All right, Greg. Oh, you're muted, I think.
Aha, gaming.
Uh-huh.
Gotta love them. I would say the number one reason to come and play at Eaglesclaw is that the Grizzlehearts have a bear named Mr. Reginald Fuzzybottom, and it is the greatest thing ever to hang out with Mr. Reginald Fuzzybottom. He's going to feature heavily in my adventure. So if you want to come and play with Mr. Reginald Fuzzybottom, come and play Eaglesclaw.
I kind of like the idea that Reginald Fuzzybottom has like persisted over the years, like that there's always been a new one, right? I kind of love that idea.
How's mascot?
He's the mascot. Allie, why should kids come to Eaglesclaw?
Well, I mean, everyone else basically said everything. It's a wonderful, inclusive place where everyone can enjoy themselves. But the other cool thing, kind of on the meta side, is that what you do here in Eaglesclaw will affect Eaglesclaw in the future. So if your student finds a mystical herb in the kitchen garden, maybe they're gonna, name that herb after them, or maybe, chasing the book mice reveals a whole new area of the school that no one remembers. So it's a persistent, fun world where you can have real, tangible, hands, I guess, into the story and help to shape it for the future of every other student that goes there, which I think is a great reason to come in and play.
Right. You belong here. Allie, while I have you, and this is why I put you last, is can you tell people a little bit about the adventure that is starting next Thursday with your table of teams?
Yes.
Because it's going to be a prequel leading up into the big event.
Yes. So I have a lovely group of teens who most of them have gone to Eaglesclaw when we were doing it in person. And they are all extremely excited to return to the adventure and the school. They've been creating their characters and deciding which house their character is going to belong in. And they're so excited, and I love to see it. We've got wonderful art being drawn. One of them is composing music for the adventure and for the Eaglesclaw, the big event on the Saturday. So it's going to be very fun and very interesting. They, as kind of the first ones to notice that these wards are failing, have to basically their quest is basically to go around and find people who have wandered into Eaglesclaw and figure out what to do with them. So it's going to be a 2-session adventure, and hopefully everyone tunes in and gets super excited because I'm super excited.
Oh, that's going to be really fun. Allie's group, if you guys don't know, but they did a disaster hamsters stream a few weeks back, and it was quite entertaining to watch and to listen to. I mean, talk about an example of like anything goes. Like they're just incredible imaginations. Just kind of went wild with that. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today and for giving everybody a little bit of a peek into what Eaglesclaw is going to be as far as the Dungeons and Dragons adventure. I can't wait to see it. One of the things that I have in my head, and I think I've talked to you about it, Allie, is that I would love it if because are we doing these on Discord? Is that the video option that we're going to use for these adventures? Is going to be through Discord. So is there a way for parents to spectate, to kind of watch the streams?
Yeah, like we can make a parental role that doesn't have like voice privileges, but they could stop in and watch what's happening.
Yeah, so I thought that might be really kind of a fun thing for parents to be able to kind of peek in and listen to their kids exploring their story if they wanted to listen in. So that's something that I'm strongly considering. I think that would be fun. Tell us if that's something that you'd like. Let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in, is listening to your kiddos play for the event. So thanks so much for joining us. And please let us know if you guys have any questions. And we're really looking forward to this event. I know that it's going to be amazing with these amazing humans. I mean, what could be better than having an awesome D&D game with these people? So, all right, guys, thanks so much. And we will catch you guys next week with Allie's intro to Eaglesclaw game. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.